Welcome to this FMStudio tutorial for your site setup using hosting and a PHP connection. When you use a hosting service that is not FM Gateway, you need to use an FTP connection to place files from Dreamweaver to your hosting service and run them on their server to test your site. With FMStudio, a site like this is relatively easy to set up. And to do this, go to your Site menu and choose New Site. Now, one thing I want to note is that some of you will be creating an FTP site. When you create a new site for an FTP connection, first of all, you name it whatever you might like. I will name it first FTP site. And you're going to have to place the files somewhere in your own computer first, somewhere on your local computer. So for this, I will go to my C drive, and I have a little area for my FMStudio sites. I will call it FTP1, and I'll click Select. Now, this means that Dreamweaver and FMStudio is going to be placing files first into this local root folder. Next, we're going to have to set up two sections with your FTP remote info details. So go to remote info and choose FTP. Now this is where things get interesting. You're going to have to use your FTP host settings, your login, your password, and also your host directory. So before doing that, open up a regular FTP client. We recommend the free FileZilla client. You can find it by Googling FileZilla and connecting to your FTP site. I am going to use my FM Gateway FTP site, but you could use any FileMaker hosting service. Use your username, your password, hit connect. Now I will refresh of the file lists. So there we go. As you can see here, I have my FTP1 site in my FMStudio sites. And in here, I'm connected to my FTP server. Now, typically, whatever server you're connected to, you will either have an HTTP docs directory or a public _HTML directory. This is where your web files go, and this is where the PHP files have to go. So open up this directory. I'll open up HTTP docs, and I recommend creating a subfolder here for this project. So for this site, I will create a subfolder, just create directory, and I will call it FTP1. Let's go into FTP1. Now, as you can see in here under remote site, I am browsing HTTP docs FTP1. Or in your case, you might have public HTML FTP1. So let's copy this out, because this path will be very important. Now go back to Dreamweaver and enter the same FTP connection settings. So enter your FTP hostname, followed by your login and your password. And now for the host directory. For the host directory, paste the path that you have in FileZilla, and now test this. Hopefully, the test goes successfully, and you get this message. Perfect. Now, let's go to the testing server. Under testing server, you're going to have to select the server model. Select FMStudio Pro API, select FTP access, and all the settings should have been copied. Now, there's one very, very important issue here. And this is the URL prefix. This is the most important setting of the whole site setup. We're actually going to delete it, and we're going to create one from scratch. Now note that I placed my FTP1 folder inside of HTTP docs, or you might have placed your FTP1 folder inside of public HTML. Whenever you create a URL to this folder, you do not include the HTTP docs or the public HTML in the URL. You only include the subfolder. So the URL to this site, for example, is my FM Gateway subdomain, and your hosting company might give you a different subdomain. And now I have to specify a very specific subfolder, so I have to put f/ftp1. Notice that in this path I do not have HTTP docs or I do not have public HTML, because public HTML and HTTP docs already point to this directory. And take this URL prefix and also copy it into your local info HTTP address. Paste it like this. And that's it. Click OK. Your site is now here set up on the side. And now I'm going to right-click and choose New File. Now, if you don't see this on your screen or in the screenshot, when you right-click the site and choose New File, you can create a file, name it index.php, and double-click to open it. Now, you should have a databases area on the side in here. If you don't, go to Window and choose Databases. Under the databases, verify that this says PHP for FMStudio Pro. This means that the site was set up correctly. And one more test we're going to do is we're going to try and run a PHP info page. For this, go to your Commands menu and choose PHP info page. Click OK. And the PHP info page should be open. If it's not open, double-click to open it. And there we go. And now we're going to preview this page in a browser. So I will choose Preview in Firefox. What this does, this will upload this page into your FTP site and will open it up using the browser. As you can see, the PHP info page comes up correctly, and at the top you can see that it's actually taking this page from your domain name / your project folder, in this case FTP1, and the PHP info page. And also if you go back to FileZilla, you can refresh, and you will now see that PHP info has been sent to your FTP site. Now, you could have a number of errors here, and if you have an error such as a 404 file not found error, it typically means that the URL prefix that you calculated, the HTTP URL, is incorrect. If you get any other errors, such as error 500 or internal server error, then contact your host, give them the URL, and ask them to help you out. Thanks for watching, and enjoy using FMStudio.